Welcome to Papa Bear Peppers, and I'm Harold. And today I want to talk about something that I was having a conversation with people on Facebook about, on one of the pepper groups, about pruning. Basically all the questions on should I? And my answer to them was an astounding, that depends. Yeah, it does depend. With the regimen that I use, and it's calcium based, a lot of my plants, they are thick, they're stocky, and they branch off a lot without any help from me. But there are some that no matter what you do, it might be just part of their characteristics, really run away. And you're like looking at me like, man, I gotta put a stop it because they're running straight up and they're not branching. And in which case, then yeah, there's times that I'm going to. Now the other part of it that I do at times, and especially here in the greenhouse, is trimming. And the trimming isn't to, it's to do one thing. In my situation, the trimming is to prevent it from going where I don't want it to go, and basically training it. I don't trim it just to trim it. I'm actually an advocate of trying not to trim as much as I possibly can. I try not to top as much as I possibly can, because I can get the production using Bloom Chaos that I can get whether I top it or not. So I mean, there's things that you can do that you can get production that you're looking for without lopping the top off. Now, does that mean that I don't? No, it doesn't mean that I don't. It means that I do it as the situation needs. What I want to do is I'm going to go through some situations here and some preventative things that I do when I'm topping plants to make sure that I don't create a problem. Okay, because first of all, you need to be sterilizing your tools, to me, before you do it, or you could be inviting some kind of an infection or disease from your cutters. If you use your cutters in your garden and you use it from one plant to the other, to the other, to the other, what ends up happening is if you have one plant that has disease and you cut it and then you go to the next plant and then you cut that one, you're bringing whatever that one plant had into the other plant. And as you know, there are bugs out there that can bite a plant, infect it, and pretty much take it out. So don't help the problem. You know what I mean? Don't help the problem. Make sure you clean it. And I'm going to show you what I do to clean mine here. And just so you see, so you know what I'm doing when I'm cleaning it. Now, first, before we get to that, I want to show you what my candidate's going to be for today. So, what we have here is we have two plants, and they're both really nice Fatali plants. And you can see one here and the other one's growing away. And just for this video, I'm going to do a topping of this one, and I'm going to get close to it. And so that's one of my small baby plants. Now, I'm going to be honest. I really don't need to do this, but for this video, I'm going to do it because I personally, I see enough growth there and everything that I really don't need to top it. It's starting to branch off and get new shoots. So it's not something that I must do. Now, what I have down here, this is Reaper Row, my beautiful Reapers, and this one here, these are my Podzilla Purple Longs, like I've told you many times before. This one I topped, and I tell you why, because it was shooting straight up without branching on. And I was doing that to this one, and right here is where you're going to see where that initial cutting was, and this thing just took off and branched off. Now this one here has never been topped. Yeah, and on the top, yes, it's a little tall, but look, it's thick enough on the stem where it can maintain its own weight. And it's still got shoots everywhere. Now on the other side, I did top it because it was just running away crazy right there. You can't even tell anymore. This one was topped about a week and a half ago. But it did slow the growth down, so I lost some time. And I topped these over here just because I wanted to top them. Did I need to? They were running straight up. They didn't branch off when I wanted them to, so I did. That's why I did those. So that's some of them. Now you see here, these have never been topped right here. Never been topped, never been topped. This here's never been topped. I believe that those are pretty full. These are Primatalis. I've never topped them, but they're full, they're thick and bushy. Do you need to top it? No. Here's another one. This is a Moruga. Never been topped. Look at that. Look at how full that is. Never. Now, with that being said, has it been trimmed? Yes. Because I've got room in the back here, and this is why. I'm in the back here and I'm going to run out of room, so I have to trim it because it's running out of space there. And over here, I want to keep a barrier, so I do trim in situations. You can see where this thing is just pushing on this plant over here too. I may have to do a little bit of trimming there just so I get it to grow up and not out anymore. So it's going to go up and not keep pushing over on it. So there's reasons to trim. I don't just trim because, hey, I want to trim it and whack it and everything else. But this one here, I'm going to take the top off of it because I don't want it to keep shooting out over this way. I want it to come up. I want it to stay around. And when I do trim too, I do like to try and keep air movement on the inside. So I will sometimes trim inside so it's not running into itself as much. This plant here has never been trimmed. This plant is completely on its own. It's never been trimmed. Now the one right here I did, because again, it didn't branch off when I wanted to. Did I need to? Probably not. It could have ran up and it'd be touching the roof. But you can trim again to make the growth go up. So let's go ahead and get into this trimming session. But first, let's do some preparation, and that means we need to clean. Well, like I said, the first thing that you want to do is that you want to clean your tools. I have a rag here that this one gets washed, and so it's the one I use. And what I'm going to do now, this is an enzyme spray. I could use alcohol and clean it if that's your choice, but the enzyme cleaner will actually do the same thing, but I have no chance of that alcohol doing any damage to my plant, so I prefer the enzyme sprays. Now, you have two options here that I use. Now this is the one that I've had for a long time, and this is called Igrozyme, and I got this through Nectar for the Gods a long time ago. I'd say probably a couple 4 years ago or so. It's still got a lot in it, and it doesn't take much for cleaning. This you can clean your pots with, and to get them ready to grow again. This will actually take out the roots in the medium so that you can have clean soil without actually going through your soil and doing a whole bunch of rooting. And that's the same thing you're going to get from the SLF 100. Now the only difference is that I want to use the SLF 100 during my feeding stages to help that microbial activity in the feeding process. So I like to reserve this a little bit more, but SLF 100 will clean these instruments just the same way. But yeah, the SLF 100 really works well with your Nectar for the Gods products. So either one of those for your cleaning. Now what I do is the first thing is I take my cutters and I'm going to spray them down. And see, this is the thing, is I'm going to shake it up just like that, get it all mixed up really well, and I'm just going to spray down my cutters. That's all I'm doing, is spraying them down. And I'm going to keep this around because it's not the only time I'm going to clean them. I'm going to clean them in between each plant that I'm trimming and cutting. And folks, I do this all the time. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wipe everything down really good now. And you could actually leave it on there if you want. That enzyme will do no harm to your plants whatsoever. So let me bring you over here and let's go into first just a baby plant. Okay, now the first one we're going to do is just, and I'm going to tell you this, folks, I want you to know this first and foremost. I would let this grow. I wouldn't top it at all. It's a great plant. That being said, we're going to do this just so we can have a good video for everybody to see. So what I'm doing if you wonder what I'm doing right now, I'm pulling off those starter leaves. I always pull them off. But what I want to do is come into here, and you can see right in here, I want to make sure I got a good view point for you. So I have a leaf here, and I'm going to cut just above it. So hopefully you can see that right there. I'm going to cut that right off, just like that. And folks, I'm sorry, I'm just not going to save this. It's a done deal. Now, I could cut it down lower, but I don't feel the need to. I really don't. You want to have a few leaves on there before you start it. And if you look really close, hopefully I can get this so you can see it. I'm going to go ahead and right in here. That's a node is what that is. Nodes are what you have like right at where your leaf starts are, and there's some really small leaf starts there. And when I spray this with my Bloom Chaos, that's going to help introduce more of the growth of those stems. And Bloom Chaos, it doesn't just generate flower growth, it also helps with your branching too. So I really do highly recommend that you use the Bloom Chaos. So what I did is I cut that off there. Now I'm going to do this just for this one. I'm going to take off this leaf right at the node. Just like that. So what I did is I cut that leaf off, and you can see that little end right there. If you want to cut it off flush, feel free, but I don't like to get so close that I could cause damage to the node. So that's my topping. That's all I'm going to do. While you're in there, do what I like to call as my my integrated pest management, IPM. Check the plant over and make sure it doesn't have any bugs while you're in there, okay? It's a good idea to do. Now, this plant here, I can see branching coming off. It's just like the other one. As you can see in there, it's just starting to branch off. I'm not going to top this plant. There's just no need to. I'm going to let it run its natural course. And folks, you don't always have to top everything. That is really a personal option. You're going to get production one way or the other. You will. You really will. Promote more branching? Yes, it does. Is it going to promote the plant for getting bushy? Sure it will. But I can get, I mean, I'm showing you plants down here that are plenty bushy. They don't need to be topped. I didn't top them because they didn't need it. So folks, you don't have to unless you want to. If you think that it's, maybe there's some bad, like maybe you get, like if you get a disease and say it's just really just shriveling up tight, because maybe it either got an nutrient lockout or whatever the deficiency is. So remember now, what I said is when you get done, spray it down, clean it off really good, spray it down, let it sit for a second or two, and just, you know, while we're talking, I'll tell you. But yeah, I don't have to top every plant that I have. That's a choice you make. And it doesn't always have to be it. So you got to look at a plant and say, do I really need to top that plant? Is it what I like to call, is it running away? Is it just shooting straight up and it's not branching out? You might want to top it when it gets to a point, you know, and that's my personal opinion. I want to top it if it's running away. But if I get low branching, that first plant I showed you, this plant here, it looks tall, but it's branched off. And all of these plants have branched off low. I want to show you something. I never touched this plant. Look at how low it branched off. I don't think that I needed to top it. I did it. I was just goofing off. But look, top this, but this one's never been topped. I've got shoots coming out of here. I got shoots coming off of that plant there. It's never been topped, and it's got a fresh green shoot. I haven't touched this plant for doing anything, and look at that. This is a new shoot that came out of the bottom. You tell me, does it look like it needs topping? I don't think so. My stems are thick because of my nutrient program, so I don't really need that. It says topping can promote growth and lots of flowering, but your plants can only support so much flowering. I'm going to dispel that myth. We're going to get into that, but that's a whole nother episode. So I've let that sit on there. As you remember, I had this sitting on there and cutters, and I'm going to go ahead and clean those off. Wipe it down. Alright, so now I'm ready. Now this is the other one down here. This one has a branch that's shooting out. It's a runaway. I'm not going to take the branch off down low. What I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this one back, so I'm going to go ahead and clean those off. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in right here down by, hopefully you can see that, and I'm just going to take that off because I don't want it to run out on me. I want it to, basically I'm training it to run up and straight. So the goal on these is to shoot them all the way up to here. That's my goal. And so anyway, now you see these two side by side. So this plant here, look at how thick and full it is. I'm not going to top that plant. There's no need to. It's got plenty of full lush growth. This one over here was starting to run up, so what I did, I just nipped the tip off. That's all I did, is I nipped the tip off. That way that plant could start shoots coming out that'll go ahead and take it off. Now you can see how this one did a little wrinkle because it tripped it out a little bit because I got so close to it. But as soon as I start getting a new shoot, I'll just take that leaf off. That's when I would take a leaf off. It's like, if a leaf you don't think it's going to recover, but I'm not done spraying it, but if you don't think it's going to recover, it's a good idea that you might lop that leaf off, because once they're damaged, that's what happens. So anyway, yeah, this one over here doing real good, so I'm not going to do much to these. I'm going to let them be. This chocolate carbaruga is a beast. I don't need to do anything to it, because now the only thing I will do is I'll come in here and do a little, I want to make sure I keep them separated. I've trimmed that one back to keep it from growing in, but what I'll do is I'll come in here and I'll find the shoots, go ahead and clean those off, like this one, that are going too far out. They're shooting straight out, and I'll cut them off. Now I didn't cut that near a node, I just cut it off. I could come back into here now and cut it right to there, just like that, and I don't need that. But what I'm trying to do is prevent the cross pollination. You can see I've cut one off here too. You do cut them off, you got to really. So this is going up and out, and what I'm going to do is take out the outward right here. Hopefully you see that. I took that out because I don't want it going out. I want it to go up. So I'm training the plant to go in a direction that I want it to go. That's why I trim, because I'm in a confined area in here and I need to control where they're going. Now in the front here, in this middle part, there's not a lot of restriction here, other than like I said, I don't want one going way up. This stick you see in here, the only reason this stick is in here for this is because I had an outward shooting, if you can see that in there, this whole stem from down here in the base was shooting out. Now I could have trimmed it, I could have cut it off, but I decided, you know what, a better solution is train it. So what I do is I take that stick and I get that pushed up against it, and what that's going to do is create that from going outward like this to going upward. And that's what's going to happen. And I'm going to do a little bit of training there. Go ahead and clean those off. Now, you can see on here that this has got it coming in. And so, I mean, I could trim that out of there if I wanted. That's an inward shooter. So, you know what? I'm looking at it and thinking about it and going, you know, maybe I will. I don't know. Yeah, let's go ahead, and we're going to take this one out right here because it's going towards the inside of the plant. I'm going to go ahead and take that one out. You know, you lose minimal stuff when you do it at the right times. So I took that one out, and so that's all I really needed to do that. Now I can just take this leaf right here and take it off. I don't want this leaf here. It's in there, and all it's going to do is create, you know, problems. So I'll take it out. So that's about all you need to really focus on with your, you take out some leaves here and there. I don't like that leaf, so I take it out. You don't have to go to the drastic measures of topping if you don't want to, because we all know that it's going to take a little bit of a time out of your growing cycle. I usually top just before I feed. Now, my feeding cycle isn't like a lot of people that you guys see out there. I'm not the norm. I feed once a week with my Nectar for the Gods. So I fed these yesterday, these plants. I gave them a really hard hit. I actually increased their calcium intake. So yeah, they got a lot right now, and I'm pushing their growth. I fed them yesterday, so the nutrients are already running inside of them. They're doing fine. As you can see here, you know, on this one, it's got no problem. It's growing great. I really didn't want to top it, but I did that because I wanted to show, you know, we had some folks out there, is where exactly do you top it? The rule is just above a node, and that's why I said where the leaf comes out here. Let's see if we can get where that leaf comes out, right above it. It'll start to branch off. And don't worry about the little bit of excess stem that you have coming up, because soon enough, you know, even if you cut just a little bit above it to be safe, it's going to all grow out and you won't even hardly know it was ever there. So, however, like I said, if you're in a grow zone, you don't have a long growing period, maybe topping isn't for you. Maybe. Now, when I do my indoor grow, that's putting me in a different situation on my indoor grow that I'm going to start. And by the way, go over there and check out that video, because I'm doing a giveaway of my Nectar for the Gods over there. As soon as I hit 175, you got to go over there to that. You can like, subscribe, and comment. And I'm going to be giving away another one of my Nectar for the Gods sample kits. Scott's going to send that out. I'll send him your name, and he's going to send it out. So we've already had one winner, Omar, and he's going to be getting one of a sample kit, and we got some more to do. You know, Scott's really happy about this too, because you know what? Collectively, we're teaching the pepper community that there's other things that you can do. The NPK thing. Yeah, I'll get into that on the next episode. But anyway, so that's my viewpoint on topping peppers, my reasoning for topping. Why I would, sometimes I won't. I'll be honest, I don't always top peppers. If I think that they're full and thick, I don't need to. Like, you know, some of these here, I don't need to top these peppers, so I leave them alone. How do you top something like that? It's never been topped. You don't, because I tell you right now, I didn't top it. I saved some time. I probably got over 200 flowers on that plant. It's about 1.5 feet tall. Let me see if I can get a side shot. Hey, I got little peppers all over this thing, and it's loading up, and that's why I'm increasing some of my growth. And look at this. These things, you know what? The only time I normally get flower drop like this is when I'm messing around with the plants. And then I'll get a couple here and there. That's it. But look at this. I'm going to get a close-up view of this so you can see what I'm talking about. Look at this. Look at this plant. And here, let's do this. So you see, it's really not that tall, but highly productive. This is the chocolate carboruga that I'm growing for my friend Tony Sherwood. And I'm going to be growing another one of his special brands, but you need to get with Tony on this. If he's got those seeds out, you want a pepper that's hot, massively productive, has really good productivity. This is the one, his carboruga line. He's got chocolate carboruga. I think he's growing some of his yellow carborugas. I've got one of those out in the garden. But man, you tell me. Look at that. Now, granted, this is sprayed down a lot with my Bloom Chaos. And look at, I already got, this one's never been cut back. Look at the peppers forming in here. Look at that. clusters of peppers they form. That's how they form when you do this and you get the bloom chaos going. Craziness. When do you trim? When you got a runaway plant, you want to trim. If you're in a space where you're trying to control the growth and how they're growing, you know, whether they're shooting out or shooting up, I want to trim that at that point because I want to train the plant to go a certain way. If it's like this one down here, when it was shooting out and I took the top off it, it was shooting out in a way. I want it to go to the ceiling up. Now these over here, knowing that my greenhouse, I have an extended season, probably 2 months total. Remember, start and finish, clean your tool. Don't allow it. Making sure that my cutters are clean. Just go, oh, it's okay, it ain't gonna matter. It won't matter until the first time you get diseases in your plants and you don't know where they came from. And it was only one before, and now it's a bunch. So now I just wiped it down, so now I'm going to spray it one more time. This is my storage. I'm just going to spray it just like that. I'm going to shake it off. I'm going to let it sit. That's what I do. You could use a razor and use that to make the cuts, because those clean cuts are what you want to do. You want to have nice clean cuts, because if you're sitting there and you're just, yeah, I want to break it off, you can. That rough cut like that, it's going to have, you can have some issues with recovering. You're going to put it in shock. So, and when I do this non-invasive trimming like I do, my plants don't go into shock because I fed them yesterday. So therefore, they've got food and it's not bugging them. And it's like, yeah, okay, whatever, I'm just going to put out more. So I don't get a lot of plant shock doing that. And I don't take it off hard, folks. I don't know. I don't see a need to cut it down that far. And most of my plants cut very often. I do it, like I said, if I got a runaway, if it's got a branch that's shooting somewhere that doesn't look like it's, you know, it's not what I want, then I'll just snip it off and get it going the other way. It basically changes the direction in which it grows. Another question is, a lot of times leaves around the base. Yeah, it's a good idea to get like leaves that are laying on the soil, because what ends up happening is you're basically creating a ramp for the bugs and the disease. So it's a good idea to clear up that canopy a little bit, especially when you're root soaking a lot like I do. I want to make sure I got access to that root zone. Now this has sat on there for a little while, so I'm going to wipe it down and put them away. And it's good now, so I'm going to wipe it down, lock it up, and they're ready for the next time. And even though I am going to do it again, I'm going to spray it down. Cleaning my tools, I use this a lot, because while this is the really will do the exact same, I use this a lot in my feedings. And the SLF 100, what that does is break down my nutrients so that my plants uptake the calcium, keeps the soil nice and clear so that it's running well. Now I will tell you one thing, but this is an enzyme. These are both enzymes. And when you start pouring salt-based nutrients into your soil, you know, it's just going to want to flush the salts out and everything and break that down. And it'll break it down, but it excels in working on your food web in your soil. So it will work with your other products, and I'm sure that Newton, the president, would say yes, it'll do that, because this stuff, so many benefits. The benefits of the SLF 100 in your nutrient program is crazy. So anyway, this is our episode on cutting, topping, trimming. Remember, it's your judgment call. You decide what you need. You don't have to top and cut everything. You have some plants that do it on their own. You have a great day. Be safe out there and keep growing.